Hi, welcome to Mind and Body Wellness, a show where we talk about the health of your mind, body, and spirit, where we interview a variety of guests from the mainstream to the alternative. I'm your host, Clovis Colley, and today in the studio with me is Amy Mcae, who bills herself out as a life coach, but also has a lot of really other cool things going on besides. Now, and life coach is getting to be more of a mainstream word.
Absolutely.
Over, maybe we didn't know what a life coach was 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
Nope.
What is a life coach and why do people need a life coach?
Life coach is basically like your personal cheerleader. It's if you have a specific goal, if you have a specific issue, something you want to achieve, if you're lacking clarity, a life coach will help you gain confidence, help create success, help you create health, wellness.
Wellness, I would guess, means everything.
Absolutely. I'm big into holistic wellness. So depending on the client, that looks different for each person.
Now, you have made a journey to get here. And you were telling me a little bit about that off camera. And it sounds like at one point in your life, you could have used a life coach. And that led you on your journey to become a life coach.
Absolutely.
Can you give us a little background on that, what happened, how you got here?
Sure. I actually had a fascination with healing my entire life. I spent my whole life wanting to be a doctor, and then my mother died when I was 20, and watching her go through chemotherapy and to die so traumatically, I didn't have any interest anymore. So then I kind of got lost for a while, and I ended up developing interstitial cystitis, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, all kinds of really chronic illnesses that they won't kill you, but they'll make you wish that you would die. So at one point I had 9 different urologists. Nobody was able to help me. So eventually I was so sick one day that I couldn't take care of my now 13-year-old. She was a baby at the time. And I had to crawl to the phone, and I called my sister. I called to come get my baby, and then I called my other sister who was working in a gym, and I said, get me a personal trainer. And basically that day changed my whole life. I went on a quest to find absolutely everything I could about healing, holistic healing, something that was outside of traditional medicine because it was failing me, and I was not wanting to even live. And
so you're pretty disgusted by mainstream.
I'm disappointed.
Medicine by that time. You're getting
right. I was done with it.
You're getting no answers for anything.
None, and I was miserable. So I never really looked back after that. I really searched in places I didn't even know existed.
How old were you at this time?
29.
Okay.
So it was quite a few, 29, 30, quite a few years ago.
Sure.
And then I discovered fitness, nutrition, and meditation, and those 3 things, and more like holistic nutrition. Unfortunately, not dieting. It was just learning to eat real food, and unfortunately, we're not taught what's actually in our food. Sure. Nitrites and nitrates that are in deli meats, the hormones and antibiotics that are in your meat, those things can really be toxic on your body. So being able to get rid of those things, I actually, once I changed my diet, I felt better within a month. I mean, I wasn't completely all better, but it was a month later that I felt better than I had in 8 years.
Now, I think there's a lot of different foods that are being, and no pun intended, shoved down our throats that we really wouldn't eat if we knew what they were made of.
No, and we don't know. I had a holistic practitioner who, unfortunately, she wasn't very kind. And this is in my journey to figure this all out. One of the first people I saw said to me, "Well, where do you shop?" And I said, "Well, Baker's." And she looked at me like I was nuts and told me how wrong it was. And I'm like, well, I don't know where you shop then. I don't understand. You're talking about a lot of years ago, and the only thing we had here was wild oats at the time. So I had to learn to really re-shop. And now I really do shop the outer edge of the aisles of the grocery store and all those things. I don't really, it's easy now. But it was a hard, long process.
Sure, sure. Anytime you're changing a big major component of your life.
And I thought it'd be temporary. I thought, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to feel better, and then I'm going to go back to the way it was.
You're going to go back to Whoppers.
Yeah, and I never did.
You felt, is it because you felt so much better?
Yeah, I felt so much better. And the journey through that of learning so much and learning the damage that it causes and feeling better, I just thought, and I'm not a saint. I occasionally have a glass of wine, or I occasionally have a cheeseburger, or whatever it is. And it doesn't really usually bother me. But I just feel better, so why would I go back?
Sure.
And it's more natural. Like my goal, it wouldn't be, I don't feel like I'd be being very authentic if I was walking around preaching this stuff And then, sitting around.
So these changes culminate. How long did it take you to get back on your feet, so to speak?
The first year was really hard. But by the
Okay.
second or third year, it became my lifestyle.
And you were feeling pretty good by that time.
I was feeling phenomenal, and I was so inspired, I started studying all kinds of things.
Why wouldn't you? How could you not?
How could you not? One thing led to another. It was first fitness was my passion, and then nutrition, true holistic nutrition, and then meditation. And those things led me to all the spiritual things and the energetic type of healing and those sorts of things. So I don't think you can have one without the other.
You said the E word.
The E word. But all of those things play a part, and you're in different places in your life at different times. So I wouldn't say one is right or one is wrong. They just work differently at different times. So sometimes I'm more focused on fitness, sometimes I'm more focused on nutrition, sometimes I'm more into the spiritual or energetic healing. Sometimes I just want to sit around and meditate or do yoga or something.
Right. So what do you get out of meditation and yoga these days
Peace of
after
mind.
being after being healed? Have you floated off the floor yet, or done anything, or are you just getting some
really
basic?
cool. I can get a lot of intuitive information through meditation.
Okay.
So I think that's the coolest thing, is to be able to get intuitive information. It reminds us how connected we are.
Right. I think some people get a little blown out by that.
Oh yeah, that's
But
not.
to me, what I think of it as is that when you smooth your brain waves out and you stop and you quit making all the noise, your brain's pretty smart and it picks up the information. It may not be coming from
Right.
some foreign source. It may
I don't
be
care where it
things that
comes,
you
right.
already know, just as long as it works.
I don't know
right?
if it's your higher self. I wasn't very huge into spirit guides and animal totems and any of that, although recently I think that I find it interesting, and I won't dismiss it. I'll play with it a little bit and see where it takes me. I used to say that all that information just came from my higher self. Instead of putting it somewhere else or something foreign. It's almost more tangible to put it, that information comes from me, the source.
Sure. Now, so you have this path, you've been on this path. You have assisted your own body in its healing. You've learned a lot of stuff on the way, and so you're a bit of the gold coin of the realm. You know from firsthand experience how these things work.
Right.
So now you've become a life coach, and what happens inside you life coaching someone?
Well, it kind of depends on the client. Because I have a background in fitness and I still hold a personal training certificate, I can do a wide range of things with the client. I can help them design fitness programs if that's where they're at. I can help them learn how to shop if that's what they need. I can help them with recipes. Depending on what their health issue is. I used to have a lot of people with health issues. Now I have more people with relationship issues. And a lot of times I would have clients that would, as a hypnotherapist, they come in with an issue or claim that's their issue, but once you start asking questions, that's not their issue.
They never seem to really know.
They don't know what it is.
They think they know what it is, but they don't know.
But life coaching is really about asking the right questions so you have actual clarity on what that looks like. And hypnotherapy is the same thing. People come in and they think that, like an overweight client. That's not the whole story. There's a whole lot more. And that's what life coaching is finding out. It's really all about how to ask the right questions.
Sure. And to me, that's where, maybe the public doesn't quite understand, or somebody that doesn't know what a life coach is. You can't see yourself all that well from the outside, and you don't know your racket. You don't know your
And I hire
story.
life coaches and things too. And that's how I started my business. Was I had this passion and this was gaining all these skills, and I went to a life coach and said, "This is what I want to do. How do I do it?"
Well, Steve Jobs had one. There's all kinds of
There are all
people.
kinds of stuff, and
It seems like the smarter people are, the more successful.
The more successful they
the
are.
more likely they are to have a life coach.
Somebody that sits there and asks you the questions and gives you mentoring. They give you how to brainstorm with someone else is always so powerful. So the ideas that come from that are phenomenal. I've helped, and like finding people with career changes. I don't know why I would attract people like that, but I've had a number of those clients, even recently, that wanted career changes. You just ask them the right questions, and then they're like, "Oh, I get it. This is how I want to do it." And then you can say, "These are your options. What steps are you going to take to get there?" Life coaching is really a lot about, here you are, and you want to be here. What are you willing to do to get there?
Right.
And not everybody's willing to do what they need to do to get there. So.
Right. To me, it seems like when you get pointed in the right direction, that's a good part of good part of the battle.
Right. Right.
And stop,
clarity is huge.
Sure,
Finding
and
clarity.
stop steering the car with the rearview mirror.
Right.
That's always good to do too. But,
Absolutely.
so you're centered in your origin, or is helping heal your body, and then you kind of found out you had skills in coaching other people, and somebody may say, "Hey, Amy, you haven't had 12 different careers. How do you know how to help people change their careers?"
Right, and I don't know why, I'm even shocked. I'm like, why do you ask me? But it's really about asking questions so they know clarity, and then helping them to figure out a plan to get there. That's just goal setting.
Sure.
It's really, the steps, some of the things are very basic in life coaching. Every session's different though, every client's different. Even that someone I see 6 times, there's not one common ground about the session. It's always very different. But the idea is for them to have clarity, to have an intention, to be mindful, and have a plan. So they're confident and successful, whatever that looks like.
Right.
And empowered.
So what? So you're seeing some people with career stuff. What does your clientele look like?
It's kind of all over the board. I found that I had a lot of clients with relationship stuff. And it wouldn't start out that way. I had clients that would come to me, for example, a woman came to me for nutrition, and it ended up being issues with her husband. I had another man come to me for meditation, and it ended up being issues with his wife. So again, it's about asking the right questions and figuring out where they're at, and helping them support them to figure out what they really do want. Right.
Do you find that the more times you put these puzzle pieces together, the faster you do it with every new puzzle?
Yeah, and sometimes, when you're slightly intuitive anyway, you'll be like, I already know where this is going,
Yeah, anything you do repetitively,
you
just get better at.
I have more confidence the more I do it. Like when first someone came to me about career stuff, I was like, what the heck am I supposed to do with that? That's not why are you asking me about career stuff? You know how many career coaches there are and business coaches? And that's another thing life coaches do, though. We provide resources. And if I can't help them, I'm going to send them to somebody that can.
Sure.
I have a select skill set, and I'm very good at certain things. And I might be able to do a few sessions with someone who wants to change careers, but then I might have to refer them out.
Sure.
And if someone comes to me, I had several clients that had mental illness stuff. That's out of my realm of, it's illegal for me to even touch that. And I don't even want to. I don't even want to be trained to do that. But I have people that I can send them to.
Well, and that's what I tell people when they start telling me their problems. I'm
not really that interested.
It's against the law. I can't hear your problems.
And people don't understand that always. Life coaching, I'm not a therapist. I'll send you to a therapist if you want to sit and talk about your stuff. And sometimes people have to vent a little bit, but I'm not going there. I'm not even interested.
Right.
Life coaching isn't about sitting in your crap.
Right. I think, people come to me and they come to quit smoking, and then they start talking about all this stuff, and it's really irrelevant.
Nope. The process is really... Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't need to know.
Yeah, you get them on your way and get them going.
Get them going and send them about.
Get them their money's worth, and and so on and so forth. So before we started filming here, well, it's not film anymore. Before we started digitizing, we were talking about relationship stuff. And what was your word for it?
Excellence in Love is a program I've recently developed. Yeah.
That sounds interesting. Love's always a good thing.
It's a very good thing. People seek a few very specific things. They seek money, they seek health, they seek love, or they seek God, or whatever, some spiritual form. Those are 4 things that people tend to seek one of, that they want more of. So love, it actually stemmed from my marriage of 15 years, was a part of the reason where it came from, was that marriage ended. Thankfully. However, that journey to there was much like my health story. It's a very long, ugly, not pretty story that just inspired me to say, okay, what skills did you need to get through this? What can you do to help people with your experience? When you're a life coach, that's what you want to do. You want to use your experiences and your education to help other people. So that's what I did. I put together, it's called Excellence in Love, and there are 5 practices. They are awareness, acceptance, attitude, action, and acknowledgement. So acknowledgement's gratitude. That always shifts everything. Sure. And it's more about being mindful and being present. Practices that will help you put that into your daily life.
Touch on each one of those just slightly.
Awareness is a journey of self-discovery. Basically, want to figure out what your core values are, get you meditating so you bring awareness into your life. Acceptance is about surrender and forgiveness, and if you're like me, a control freak, that's not my strong point. So attitude's your perception. You know, in psychology, they say 80% of the time you are reacting to something from the past. So if you can become aware enough to make a different choice, instead of reacting, you can respond. That's always really important. Action's my favorite stuff. That's the goal setting oriented. What steps you're going to take? Okay. What are you willing to do? And then acknowledgement's gratitude and being grateful and finding, just being grateful, finding reverence for life.
So I take it excellence and love. This is maybe coaching geared towards two people in a committed relationship type of thing.
It can be, but these are 5 skills you could use for your health. I mean, in the whole big scheme of things, or just basically to create any healthy and happy life. But it is geared towards love or towards relationships in general. I spoke last night on this, and there was someone that mentioned their relationship with their neighbor. So if you can, that's not as intense. I mean, we really do seek love, and ideally that's the goal. I mean, if you want to find an authentic love, you want to know who you are and you want to have your crap together. So
sure, you want to be ready when it shows up.
Right, when you want to be real. I believe that if you know who you are and you think, speak, and act in line with your core values, that you live a really empowered life.
Sure.
And even and if you are doing that, you know that when those difficult times show up, and when you have challenges or when you're dealing with difficult people, you know that you've done what you could do. And that's really important, is to trust and to understand that you've done what you could.
Right. Well, yeah, I think that's really all we can ask of ourselves, is to do the best that we can, and just maybe that's where the acceptance part comes in. If
forgiveness is huge in the acceptance part, is learning forgiveness, and part of that's forgiving yourself and learning to love yourself. That's part of that acceptance step, is learning to love yourself and do nurturing things for yourself, which we don't tend to do. You know, we're too busy taking care of everybody else or checking off our to-do list, and I'm guilty of that. That's how I know that step needs to be in there, is because I failed to do that before.
Right.
So now I understand the value of that.
I used to think, you know, some of this life coaching and being involved in hypnosis and being involved in goal setting was all about trying to become perfect.
Right.
And that's a pretty tough gig.
Yeah, perfection's kind of in the eye of the beholder, so you may think that you're on a journey to perfection, but there's not really going to be.
Your neighbor might not.
Your neighbor's not going to, so yeah. And you know, perfection, it's overrated.
Yeah, then everybody starts expecting it out of you.
Right, that's draining.
And that's a lot of trouble. And then comes the wine.
And then comes the wine, exactly.
What do you like doing with this? What do you find fulfilling about it?
I like to see people happy.
Yeah.
There's a satisfaction that comes when I like to see their eyes light up when you ask a question and they go, oh, that's.
They get a major win.
They get a major aha moment, and it's only because you asked a question or because you told them it doesn't have to be that way. Why? What do you mean this is the way it is? When you can just alter, optical illusions are a good example. So you see something one way and then somebody comes in, life coaches do that. We allow you to see something from another perspective that maybe you didn't have.
Right, well, there again's your blind spot. You can't see your own stuff.
You can't see everything. You need someone to point it, and it's not point out faults, it's point out possibilities.
That's a good way to put it, I think.
Yeah.
So what is possible for people that they're missing out on, that they don't think they can produce?
It depends on the client. My clients are geared, it depends on the client. I don't think that people always have confidence or that they're always willing to take steps. They're scared. And you have to be willing to color it. Growth comes when you are vulnerable.
Sure,
right?
Sure, absolutely.
Some of the greatest things come when you trust and are vulnerable and allow something to just happen. And then you take a step towards something. And I don't know if people are always willing to take, maybe sometimes I'm a little pushy as a life coach, because I'm like, if you want to get here, you have to, take dating. You can't sit around at home if you want to date. If you really want to find love, you can't sit at home.
So you got to put your foot between their shoulder blades.
And be like, get out the door. You have to do something.
Shove them out of the moving car. And
right. Here are options and ideas. It doesn't have to be this miserably uncomfortable thing. Let's figure out what works, somewhere in the middle. Let's meet somewhere in the middle and do something. But if you're not willing to I don't really want to work with people that aren't willing to make changes. I'm not successful.
Well,
then, you know?
you do need somebody that's coachable, don't you?
They have to be coachable, and not everybody. I have had those people that really just aren't. They're not committed. You know, life coaching is an investment. It costs money, it takes time, and you're going to have to work. You know, if you think, unfortunately, that's a lot what happens like in our health and wellness. If you go to the doctor, people are lazy. They want a pill. They want to just be fixed just like that. You do holistic health, you have to do the work. You actually have to heal it. You can't take a pill to mask your symptoms.
Right, right.
You know, life coaching is the same way. You have to do the work. And you have to, I as a life coach have to do my own inner work or I don't get, you know, results either. So
sure. To me, you're working at an influential level.
Absolutely.
If you don't have your side of the street clean, you can kind of overlay it over your clients.
Yeah.
So it's really important to
Very important.
Really important to pick somebody that's operating on all eight, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Tell me what you haven't told me about life coaching that you would like to tell me.
Well, I think that life coaching, it's difficult to understand that there's a variety. Right now, there's a lot of variety of life coaching out there. So I think that people need to research if they're going to hire a life coach. That's what they need to do. So that's what I would suggest, is that anyone that's, you know, you're going to have multiple life coaches on here, ask the right questions to figure out if you can find the right life coach for you.
Could a person ask the right questions so they get the wrong life coach so they could stay stuck?
Yeah, I'm sure they could.
Sometimes they might need to hire
That's the right kind of life coach.
They might need to hire a coach to help them find a coach.
Well, and I had a guy texting me that had a coach that repeatedly texted me saying, I think I need to get rid of my coach and hire you. And I'm like, I said, I'll talk to you for free. We can sit and have on a phone conversation. If you want to talk about what I can do for you, I'll happily have a phone conversation with you and not charge you, and let's just see if it's a good fit. Eventually, I think he just, I don't know, he either gave up on life coaching or his life coach worked out. But that's an example of, I'm like, you're texting me, but you're not willing to have a conversation with me. I can't help you if you can't sit down and have a conversation with me.
You know, I think sometimes people have one thought or one belief about life that really, really keeps them stuck. And I think life coaching is like Jenga. You got to get in there and pull out that one
the
block,
puzzles. And a lot of it is
one thought.
Worthiness. People have an issue with, are they worthy of receiving whatever it is they want?
And they won't get it until
and they won't get it till they fix it, or they're broken. I get a lot of people that think they're broken. I'm like, you're not broken. You have stuff. Everybody's got stuff. That's part of the journey.
That's one belief that'll keep you from getting where you want.
It is, yeah.
You know, they talked about, you know, being in, I forget who it was, but just, you know, maybe in Hollywood or something. And if somebody said, hey, everybody that's phony, stand up. And they said everybody in the place would stand up because nobody ever feels like they'll have this superhero complex, but at the same time feel like they're worse than everybody.
Right. Deep down, they're not feeling.
And if I think if people take care of themselves, get this stuff inside taken care of, they can meet and feel like they're part of the human race.
Definitely.
What's the biggest win you've had coaching?
I don't know. They all feel like I couldn't rate them as the biggest.
So you get a real charge out of helping people.
Yeah, even the little things. I have a great client right now that I'm not sure we've gotten where we thought we were. We've eliminated a lot of things. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I've eliminated a lot. So that journey, like I thought we would be somewhere else in my mind. Well, that's just not where we've gone. So, but it's one of those things where for one point I thought, I'm not successful in this. But after having a conversation with her, she was like, no. And I was like, oh, you know what, we have done some things. You know, together we were like, yeah, we've done this. And sometimes I have people rate and answer some questions and then have, in the middle of like 10 sessions or something, have them fill out some more information so you can see your progress. You know?
Right. Well, you put it on paper and you can get it down there.
Right.
And do we still write goals on paper?
I'm big on writing.
Why?
I think that the energy of writing like imprints it. I think that it's huge. I think that seeing it, writing it, you feel it differently. I just think it's more powerful. Then you have to look at that crap. It's almost like you've made a deal with the universe.
I see.
You know?
Well, I have a friend that makes about $300,000 a month. This guy makes a lot of money.
So you make your right goals.
Yeah, that's the one thing he said. And the very interesting thing that he says about this, he wanted to go to outer space. He wrote it down as a goal. Well, guess what?
It happens.
He ran into the lady that's selling tickets for this private space shuttle thing, and he bought a ticket to go to outer space.
Even if you don't have, like, you know, SMART goals were the big thing, and short, I mean, there's all these technicalities you can use. If you just write a bucket list, and a year later, 5 years later, get out that bucket list.
Right.
You'll be surprised how many opportunities, without you even taking an action step, actually came your way.
You forget what you wrote down.
You forget, because I did it. You forget. And then the only thing I didn't do on the one was I didn't learn salsa dancing, so I need to pick that up.
Yeah, I'm doing West Coast swing.
There
So
we go.
I'm going to do a little bit of salsa, but I'm more of a West Coast swing guy. But I'm having the time of my life, you know, and part of the way that I got here was putting that stuff down on paper. But he claims you have to put a date on it. It won't happen without the date.
Oh, it will happen without it, but I think that you cement it better if you put a date.
I like cement on my things that are going to happen,
That are
really cool.
When I do specific goal setting with clients, and some clients do better with that, and some clients don't. So,
Time has flown by.
Right.
Tell us who you are, how we get a hold of you, your website.
Okay, I'm Amy Mcae, and my website is www.amymccae.com.
Okay. I'm Clovis Colley. Thanks for tuning in to Mind and Body Wellness, brought to you by Nebraska Counseling and Hypnosis Center. Thanks for joining me, Amy. It's been a great interview.
It's great. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. And I hope to have you on again, too.
Sure,
And
I'd love to.
we'll talk more about life coaching, excellence in love, and
All that good stuff.
And we didn't get to shamanism. I want to check that out next time.
We'll talk spiritual healing another day.
Okay, great.